The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it. Mondays here. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. Hope you're doing all right. Hope your Sunday Fun Day football was incredible. And you're over what happened Saturday about 11 o'clock Central Time. We'll discuss it all and jump in with the Blackshirt Hour in about an hour with Coach McBride, a Monday with Charlie. And then Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore. We'll get Jay's take. He was drafted by the 49ers, so he has a thought on San Fran's survival. And, of course, Chiefs Kingdom keeps marching on, much to the chagrin of some of you. Maybe a fella to my left who's a Denver fan. But the Chiefs keep on rolling. We'll dive it in. Numbers to get in, 489-1240 or 800-825-5865. Can dial the phone and get on the show with us here. Open phones this first hour. And email the show, chris@hailvarsity.com. As always, you're welcome to chime in via Twitter or on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. The StreamYard connection can be part of roll call, the starting five. We always give shout-outs to the first five in every show. Available to get your comments in on the YouTube channel and also different Twitter outlets. The ESPN 590 in Omaha Twitter handle, Hail Varsity Radio, at HVarsity Radio, and KFOR Twitter as well. 489-1240. Fellas, how are we? Good weekend? Fun weekend? Or are you still trying to shake off the weekend? I was asking Elijah, you did a giant pot bowl of chili.
Oh, yeah.
I asked how you made your chili. Connor, unfortunately, turned the mics on mid-sentence, and it sounded a little graphic with what Elijah was talking about from a chunkiness standpoint. How his roommates like it chunky.
Rather than soupy, let's clarify.
Yes.
That was the other option.
Yes. So we're talking about Elijah's chili.
Promise.
That was pretty good. So chili for you.
Chili was very, very good. Yeah.
I loaded up on carbs, and I've grown a third breast. I was bad this weekend with my dieting. Connor, were you at least somewhat sane this weekend?
From the hours of 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday, no. I was. You know the cartoons where that you see the smoke coming out of the ears. That was me for a good portion of that game.
So you're angry Nebraska basketball fan.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's fair to say, and not because of. I mean, we can get into it, but
yeah, we'll get there.
Not because of their overall play, but specifically their performance on the road, and obviously everybody knows that.
Have you not? I'm sorry, I've been doing this a while, just living in this state, watching Nebraska growing up, and there's just moments where you expect sadness.
Husker basketball PTSD.
Right.
I've referenced it multiple times this season.
I have the question, though, what Husker sport / team do you get most upset at? Is it football? Is it basketball?
That's a good question.
Is it baseball? Is it volleyball? I don't think you get too pissed at volleyball ever.
I'll tell you one I don't get pissed at. It's the rifle team.
No.
Bowling.
Right, because all they do is win.
Yeah.
I was making a rifle team joke.
Because they have great aim.
They have my utmost respect.
Yeah, Elijah will never get angry at the rifle team. Let's give a shout-out here to our starting five, the first five in the StreamYard. Anthony checks in, and he checked in right about 3:15. Mr. Snitley, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty. Brian Snitley in second. Jeff checks in third. Mr. Chuck in at 4. And Roger, present, is in. William checking in off the bench at number 6 from Cedar Park, Texas. Pat says Elijah's mustache is at an 8. And Black Hills Brennan in at 9. Brandon is in at 10. There, we got our first two teams lined up. So we'll give you a shout-out in the starting 5. Tom Selleck is 79 today.
Well, it should be noted
on the Mount Rushmore of mustaches.
I know the mustache
along with
is
Elijah Herbel.
I'm going for the beard just a little bit if I get in close to the camera. Our good friend Matthew was in the chat probably a year ago saying I need to get on with the beard. Umpiring starts up soon. And I need
fun with that.
I need to be well kept for umpiring. So I'm thinking, you know what? New year, new me. Let's get the beard going. Let's see if I can get it looking somewhat respectable before I have to shave it for umpiring. So that's what I've been working on recently. Not inspired by Lord of the Rings, though I did get another 7 hours of the audiobook knocked out this weekend.
Jeez. Dedication.
So Elijah said, I'm not watching any more of this basketball from the 15-minute on in the second half. I'm checking out me some Lord of the Rings. Let's dive into some Nebraska basketball. Do we have a little bit of Fred queued up? This was Fred from the post game in Maryland, and you can hear the frustration in the mayor's voice.
Well, the run they went on at the end of the first half, that I thought that set the tone, and their guys knocked down shots that they obviously have been making. But you can tell they're capable. They had good strokes, and you knew that if you gave them open ones, they were going to knock them down. Listen, the thing that bothers me more than anything about our performance today was the turnovers and the offensive rebounds. And you can't give up 25 points off of turnovers and 18-second chance and have any chance of keeping it close. And that's the difference. And then when you get confident, when you get layups in transition, that makes those three-point shots a lot easier. So, to me, that 16-2 run in the last 7 minutes of the first half, completely flipped. We talk about going out and throwing the first punch and in an early game is so important. And we did that. And we were blocking out. Our blockouts were great early. We get up 10 right away, and then we completely went away from what was making us successful.
So Fred's not wrong. That's the best first 5 minutes under 16 I've seen Nebraska play probably in like 4 years on the road. They were physical. They were boxing out. They were hitting shots. They were moving. They were cutting. I said, okay, this looks different. I got roped in and said, okay, they're going to be here. And then 12-2 turns into, all right, 25-22. Nebraska's down 3. Maryland absolutely flipped this thing on its ear. And then the run continued. Nebraska went ice cold from 3. And they looked a lot like Ohio State. Ohio State's one of those teams that they have moments of greatness and they are super talented, but they really don't want to fight very hard. Nebraska's a team that really doesn't want to fight very hard on the road. That's what it looks like. That's a strong accusation, but there's just too much in it. And maybe there needs to be an old back to the drawing board session with the perimeter defense, because Nebraska's making everybody have a career high from downtown, period. I mean, Maryland makes 7 threes a game, 6 threes a game. They had 7 in the first half. They shot an incredible percentage comparative to the 29% they average. And then they're always going to be beasts inside. They killed you on the offensive glass. A lot of that is personnel, but more of that's just desire. And then you factor in the ball handling situation with Lawrence and Williams. I mean, it wasn't just the fact they were nervous, man. They were so nervous bringing the ball up against light pressure, and the passes were almost second guessed the minute they left the players' hands because they weren't quite sure. They weren't confident passes. So, disaster for Nebraska basketball. But I have quit getting angry at Nebraska basketball. I just kind of accept what they are. And there's been some fun moments at home that you're going to remember, and that's incredible. But this team's too good to not be dancing when they play at a respectable level. And the problem is they just tune out, check out, and they've already kind of just tapped out on the road.
It starts with the confidence. The confidence goes away.
Once it goes sideways, here's the snowball.
Then the effort goes away. And then this team doesn't seem to have an embarrassment factor for whatever reason. a lot of teams, whenever you give up a 17-2 run, you come back stronger than ever because of that embarrassment factor. You're angry. This team, especially on the road, doesn't seem to have that. And I understand why you have a little more motivation, not get embarrassed in front of the home crowd. But it's not like that was the most raucous Maryland environment. There's a 20-car pileup outside the stadium, so half the stadium wasn't even there for the first half. Like there was just no fight in front of the away crowd. They didn't seem to be scared of getting embarrassed. And that's what happened on Saturday. You got embarrassed by that Maryland basketball team. You can look at the stats, you can look at the eye test, whatever you want to look at. That was an embarrassing performance, but I didn't see embarrassment from that Husker basketball team.
Let's go to the phones real quick, and we'll hear a little bit more from Fred. Who's with us?
We got Tom with us.
Tom, thanks for chiming in. Go ahead.
Hey, Schmidt, hello. From what I saw of that game Saturday, it looked like, and this has probably been the case all year. I mean, Lawrence is the point guard, starting point guard, but it just looks like it's point guard by committee.
That's what it is.
Yep. Out there, and with their pressure defense, I mean, they made us look really unathletic compared to what they were doing.
There's just no trust in your own ability to handle the ball. And it wasn't like you're facing the Nolan Richardson Arkansas Razorbacks of yesteryear that are going to.
It kind of looked like that.
Well, it did, but Maryland's defensive intensity wasn't nuts. I mean, it wasn't a walk in the park, but it wasn't to go get steals. It was just to take about 10 seconds off the clock.
Yep.
And something that nobody else has brought up, and I had my hopes up because of this. Nebraska played a day before Maryland did in the middle of the week, and I thought, well, we've got one extra day of rest. This might do it, but it looked the other way around.
So are you optimistic? You holding steady? Or are you teetering now here on this postseason thing?
The corks pulled enough for the water to start draining.
You're worried.
I'm giving them a C- right now, possibly teetering towards the D if they get beat by Wisconsin.
All right. Well, Tom, appreciate the phone call, bud. We'll see you down at PBA.
The path is still there to make the tourney, in my eyes.
And I don't think losing to Maryland is going to knock you out. But
it knocked you down, 20 spots in the net rankings?
Did it really? So you're back, you're plus 60 now, huh?
Mm-hmm. That was a bad loss. And it didn't take away confidence this team can make the tourney. I still think you have the path, especially in your home floor. I have zero confidence that this is the team to go win a tournament game, though. What's going to happen when this team gets on a neutral floor? Unless you're playing in Omaha in front of 15,000 Husker fans, I don't see them getting a win in the tourney.
That's fair. And I think that it's not fair to give up on this team's postseason hopes because at the same time, you don't win 15 games at this point in the season by accident. Like, you've still won 15 times. And I know that has come at home except for like 3 games, but this team is still capable of winning games, and they have another huge opportunity, not test, opportunity at home on Thursday, in my opinion. You want to talk about the stats here real quick, and Elijah and I were going through this before the game. At Ohio State, we'll do rebounds and turnovers. Nebraska wins the rebounding battle 35-28. They win the turnover battle 9-6. They had 6 turnovers as a team. Then you go to Maryland. You lose the rebounding battle 43-25. You give up 17 offensive rebounds to your 22 defensive rebounds. You go to the turnover margin, Nebraska 18, Maryland 8. Not to mention, Maryland took 21 more field goal attempts than Nebraska did on Saturday.
Possession.
That is unbelievable how different that is. Like, you can't make that up. And that's one game to the next. That's not 2 weeks apart. That's not a month apart. That's not non-conference play to conference play. That is back to back. And that is something I don't think I've ever seen. And I cannot figure it out.
Well, and that's somewhat forgivable if Maryland is starting Dennis Rodman in their front court, and that's why they have 17 offensive rebounds. But it wasn't. It was because you weren't taking the necessary steps and putting in the effort to put a body on a body. It was as simple as that.
Julian Reese is a good player.
Yeah.
He's a very good player. He did well against Nebraska last year. At 16 boards at PBA last year. But that doesn't give you the excuse to get absolutely dominated on the boards again on the road. I don't understand it. You were able to somewhat, and I say this lightly, contain the National Player of the Year in Zach Edey at home. So I don't understand why you can go on the road and just absolutely lay an egg. And it's not just the rebounding department. I think it's the everything department. I mean, it almost seems like the way this team plays on the road is like they're thinking about it in the back of their mind. We haven't been very good away from home this year. Here we go again.
No, that's absolutely where their mind goes. Here we go again once some adversity strikes, and Fred's talked till he's blue in the face about the mental toughness and being able to respond. They just don't have it in them right now because of that confidence factor, and then it starts snowballing. It's a lot like watching Bo's teams in big games. I mean, when there's a moment in time that happens, it flips things. We'll talk a little bit about momentum with Baltimore, Kansas City coming up. Anonymous checks in with a valid point here. Ulis and Keita, even on an occasional 5 to 15 minutes a game, would help Nebraska's rosters out considerably. Yes, got to get Keita in. He's big and physical and athletic to go get rebounds. He's not been available. And Ulis, if that dude's running point, Nebraska's
he's a true point guard
in a great spot. And I mean, you've got to go look for Tominaga on the side of a milk carton. He's disappeared a little bit. And I think Bryce is really good at taking some smart shots when they need a bucket, but he's not comfortable handling the ball at times. And they'll look different. How many teams are not going to press these guys from this point on?
It should be 0.
Right. Everybody should press him. And I mean, that's what Northwestern started doing second half, and you saw how big of a dogfight that was. We'll hit some NFL, some more thoughts from you, more thoughts in the stream as Hail Varsity continues, powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
We'll hit the Husker Visit weekend here in about 10 minutes or so. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. It's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. A couple of last thoughts on basketball, and we'll keep more of your comments coming in the stream as well, and get to some NFL. More from Fred here. Just kind of a short and sweet post from him on Saturday. The discouragement factor here, cut 3 from Hoiberg.
And give Maryland credit. They played great today. This team had an unbelievable win on the road in their last one of the more impressive wins in the conference, that win at Illinois, which obviously has a great team. And they exposed us with turning us over and just crushing us on the glass. And that's becoming a very discouraging issue and a theme for our team on the road on the glass. We won the last 2 games. You beat Northwestern and Ohio State. You win the glass, and we won the game. This one, Rutgers, Minnesota, we absolutely got punked on the glass, and that has to stop. We got to find a way to regroup, and got a big one at home coming up against the best team record-wise in our league with Wisconsin, and then we got to go back on the road for 2. So, we got to find a way. Again, early, the things that made us successful out there, we went away from, but Maryland had a lot to do with that.
So, Nebraska didn't adjust. Nebraska didn't fight in the paint. Nebraska got out muscled in the paint, and Maryland's got better bigs. They just do. And I know Rink is giving it his all, but he doesn't have any help. So I'm not going to pin it on him. Your guards need to rebound. Fred has hit that before. You need Juan back down in the paint. We'll see if that happens for Thursday or not. And, Maryland did what they do. And Maryland's, quite frankly, underachieved. They should be a top 5 team in conference. They're not. So right now we're saying bubble at best for Nebraska basketball. But that can change if they go rabbit out of their hat at Illinois. And prior to that, they go win Thursday night, which they've been incredible at home at PBA. I mean, they go from out/bubble to in with these 2 wins.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's a week that I would call the most important, at least in the past 5 years of Husker basketball, if not since that no-sit Sunday week where you finish strong at your big tournament. I mean, say it's probably the most important week for Husker basketball in damn near a decade, just because if you can get a win against Wisconsin at home and by some miracle get a win on the road against Illinois based on what we've seen from Nebraska, I would call it a miracle. You're in. It's as simple as that. Your resume is too strong to be kept out. If you can get a win at home against Wisconsin,
1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed.
Your resume is too strong to be left out if you can get 2 wins there.
Connor's blinking at us in disbelief.
If you can split those 2 games, if you can split Wisconsin and Illinois, you still have a damn good argument at making it into the tournament. If you go 0 for 2 Now you're looking at very, very tight margins the rest of the way, where you can't, if you lose both those games, you can't lose another home game the rest of the year.
Can't lose another game.
Well, you can lose your road games, because I'm already counting up most of those as losses. You would have to go perfect at home if you lose these 2 games in order to have a shot at getting into the tournament.
You have to win more than...
You got to win out at home, and you got to go steal 2 for the one you lost against Wisconsin, is my take.
Yeah, and I think there are, even though this team has been terrible on the road, there are still 2 winnable road games, in my opinion, left on the schedule. Because, again, even if they bottle up half of what they had at home the previous 2 games, that's a much closer game at Maryland, probably.
Sure. But they have shown that they cannot bottle up what they have at home. They are 28 points worse on the road than they are at home. That is a mind-boggling stat. I've never heard of any team,
and that's why I can't put my finger on it,
being that much worse on the road.
There's a moment in the ball game where they check out.
Like, are these other teams like sending ambulances past the hotel late at night and lighting off fireworks at 3 a.m. to make sure Nebraska doesn't get sleep? Like, that's how much worse.
Now it's a rest issue. I get it.
I can't for the life of me understand what is going on the road. But the one thing I can be damn near just about sure of is whatever you're doing isn't working. And if there's not major changes to Hoiberg in the operation, they're not going to win another road game.
Let them kill you inside.
If they don't beat Michigan on the road, then there's huge problems. And that's even worse because that's the last game of the regular season.
Michigan, Ohio State, and don't kid yourself, Penn State and Rutgers have a tendency to roll in here and have some fun because they're big, they're physical, and even Minnesota. I mean, those 3 should be wins in Lincoln.
Look,
but it I don't think it's going to be easy.
You give yourself a shot Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
And based off of how this team has played at home, I think you give yourself pre-game a legitimate shot to win this game. You saw flashes of what Nebraska can do against Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. I know that they couldn't really break through. It was around 10 for a while there.
It's always an 11-point number that got pushed up to 18.
But then you look at Wisconsin, too. They survive at Minnesota. They lose at Penn State. So this team, as of late, hasn't been that great on the road either. Now, they're not Nebraska bad on the road. I'm fully aware of that. But this team hasn't been that great on the road either. So you give yourself a pretty good opportunity here at home to get a top 10 win again against a conference opponent. That strengthens the resume, wow, as to what Elijah said earlier. And even if you go on the road at Illinois and lose, which you probably will.
You lose, you get killed.
You have to lose close. You have to. And that's in my book right now, and I think in everybody else's book that's watched this team on the road, that's you probably count that as a win if you lose by less than 10 at Illinois. And to be fair, Illinois has had some pretty scary games at home as of late. They lost to Maryland at home. Indiana gave them all they could handle at home this past weekend. Again, I'm not saying Nebraska's going to go in there and scare the crap out of Illinois. But you got to give yourself a position to maybe win/lose close. And don't forget, you go to Northwestern right after Illinois. I know Northwestern 3 years ago, you go in there, there's nobody there. That's not the case anymore.
They're a tournament team right now.
You don't walk into Welsh Ryan Arena this year or last year and win. That's not an easy place to win. So these next 2 are crucial.
The magic number to me is still 20. If you get Wisconsin or Illinois.
20 heading into the tournament.
Yes.
And go get 1.
If you get one of these next 2, you just have to win your home games and you're at 20.
You had that overtime at Rutgers. You had the one at Minnesota where those are 2 wins that you just peed away.
You need 20 and 500 in the league.
Yeah, that's fair. KG Kids for Life said that I'm sick of Maryland beating us. They don't even have good seafood. I've not been to Maryland, but it's always kind of been the debate Florida v. Maryland for seafood. And then, of course, Seattle has something to say about that.
In my opinion, that's an oxymoron, good seafood.
You don't like any seafood?
There's seafood that's fine, but I'd always rather take a land-bearing creature than a seafaring creature.
You're not putting no fish in your chili, is what you're telling me.
No. If you give me the option between fish and a steak or beef of any kind.
Amen. Right.
Easy choice.
Wow, you 2 are Lincoln natives.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm disagreeing with you.
Is there good seafood out of the old Lake Michigan?
It's all dead.
Is it?
I'm just kidding.
I'll never
Well,
forget.
maybe by the Chicago River it is.
I'll never forget my cousin. He's from California. We brought him to Lincoln, and we took him to a local Mexican joint, and he got a surf and turf burrito. And I have never seen a man look more disappointed eating the seafood in his burrito.
You know, you might stick with the fajita.
He was from Monterey Bay, so like they had good seafood out there. And he's
yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, surf and turf burrito. It's like my favorite to get out in California."
California.
Gets it in Lincoln, and he was just so
Things
disappointed.
not to do while in Nebraska.
This is so off topic, but while we're on the topic of seafood, there's an alarming amount of sushi places in the Haymarket, I think.
Yeah,
There's like 5 of them.
They're good, man.
I mean,
love sushi.
it's just like surprising. I'm like, what are they doing here? But
I recommend the sake.
Just like I'm all in on sake. Okay, NFL thoughts. We'll get there now. And did the Chiefs win it or did Baltimore lose it? Go.
The Chiefs won it. I'll give Chiefs credit.
Yeah, the Chiefs
The
won it.
Lions lost it. If we go
Lions
to
are
the
going to
second
lion.
game.
Always going to lion.
I'm sick for Metallica Dan, Coach Campbell, because all you got to do, brothers, kick that field goal. Kick the field goal. Go back up 17. It breaks the momentum shift and swing, and who knows? You still lose by 3, and you can be true to yourself. You can stick with what got you there, but there are moments in a ball game where it's okay to be conservative. Now, I want to go with Baltimore here for a second. Anyone else shocked that when push came to shove, Baltimore was -3 in the turnover battle? Anyone else shocked that Baltimore probably overthought it with play calling? Listen, Kansas City came in. Their Achilles heel was rush defense. They're 26th in the NFL, and teams have had some success running the football on them. And credit to Kansas City. I mean, they didn't make a lot of money running the football, but they stuck with it. They found Kelsey. They jumped out. They were poised. And 2 different types of composure here, where Detroit bleeped the bed and just had no recovery. Baltimore really just played stupid football with the penalties and the old throwback tribute to the longest yard where you club the quarterback over his face mask opening. Zay Flowers needs to get code redded in his own locker room for taunting, and then you get a 15-yard penalty, and they got to settle for 3. Oh, wait a minute. He fumbled at the goal line. My fault. The Zay Flowers drive. He's going to be getting gifts from Kansas City till next Christmas.
And then sliced his hand open on the bench in anger.
Beating the hell out of his own hand.
And not to mention Lamar also throwing it into triple coverage when they get down the field again.
2 red zone turnovers.
It's
and
unbelievable.
Then the strip sack fumble that Kansas City didn't score off of, but it kept momentum at bay. Baltimore played Husker football.
That from Chuck in the stream.
Chuck off the top.
Okay, wait, here's a question. Who played more like Nebraska? Was it Baltimore or was it the Lions?
It was Baltimore.
Can we say Nebraska of past years?
Baltimore had the most nonsensical play calling I have ever seen. 8 handoffs all game long, 2 per quarter. 2 times per quarter.
But just
did you hand the ball off?
But the
Baltimore
way in which Detroit lost.
I would have ran Lamar on zone reads till they stop him. Period.
Well, the problem is when you don't have any threat of handing the football off, it now takes away your RPO action, which is where Lamar Jackson is very dangerous. Takes away the zone read threat where Lamar Jackson is very dangerous. You gifted Kansas City the opportunity to just make him a pocket passer. And if you want to beat Lamar Jackson, that's the first place you start, is you just make him a pocket passer. And yeah, he got
a pocket passer, make him throw deep.
Yeah, and he got out in the scramble occasionally. That's going to happen with Lamar Jackson, but you took away the threat of the legs for the most part, and it made the defensive game plan for Spagnuolo and the Chiefs just so much easier.
Except when he threw it to himself. That was pretty cool.
That was cool.
That was nuts. He was going to take off for a 55-yard touchdown reception, Lamar to Lamar, but he got tripped up. Some visit weekend thoughts. We'll hear some of the post-game from the NFL Championship weekend as well at Hail Varsity.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
You gotta fight for your right to party! Believe it, baby, we going to Las Vegas, Nevada!
Love it, or do you? Jason Kelce was wearing a shirt. That was okay, but Travis Kelce losing it post-game momentarily. It is now San Fran and Kansas City. Our friend KG Kids for Life is not a Chiefs fan. The U.S. should be upset with Baltimore. They were their last hope to keep us from the Super Taylor Swift Bowl. I'm not anti those two.
I mean, it's not really their fault. It's the media's fault. They're the ones who are showing her every 2 seconds.
I agree. I actually 100% agree.
Like, she's not going in there saying, ooh, put the cameras in my booth.
Yeah.
Like, that's my
You're
take
making
on it.
Brittany mad. Keep the cameras off of me.
Yeah.
I would trade Usher for Taylor at halftime.
What do you think?
How about we just don't put pop stars on television during the Super Bowl? Like, let's just keep it to the football.
Well, you've added $300 million.
I know, it's going to be the most watched Super Bowl of all time, most likely.
In revenue, just with the Taylor Swift factor.
Do you think Usher brings her out at halftime?
She's always shut down the NFL. They've come after her multiple times for halftime.
She's not going to do it.
She's going to be on a flight jet lagged back from
I forgot about that.
Because she's going to go print money internationally. All right.
My take is take is simply just this, and I think they actually handled it decently during the AFC title game. Cut to Taylor when Travis does something, when Travis scores. If Pacheco scores a touchdown, you don't need to cut to the Taylor Swift box.
Yeah, that's fair.
If the Chiefs get a stop on defense, you don't need to cut to the Taylor Swift box. You know what? Hit it pregame. If Travis does something special, cut to Taylor Swift, I'm fine with it. You know what? I understand that Swifties help the NFL make money too. He did catch the ball 10
times and had a monster touchdown.
And that's why I think they handled it well yesterday. It wasn't overplayed. We didn't have the commentators talking about it all game long. I'd like to keep it to football. Hey, if Taylor's going to be in the broadcast, that's fine, because I understand that Swifties make you a hell of a lot of money too. And I think they actually handled it decently during the AFC title game. Maybe they found that nice middle ground that keeps football fans happy and Taylor Swift fans happy. That's what you're shooting for in the Super Bowl. I just don't want to cut away after every single Chiefs drive to Taylor Swift. I want some replays. I want to see what happened on the field. I want to see a cut to Andy Reid. I want to see a cut to other people on the sideline. It just doesn't need to be a cut.
Would you rather see more of Jason Kelce than Taylor Swift?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat there in terms of, like, keep on the field. Like, Jason Kelce's a cool story,
Show
too.
me the game.
I don't see a difference between cutting to Kelce and cutting to Swift, though, in that you're cutting to a fan in the stand, which is respectable and needed at times, but for the most part, let's keep it to the game.
I mean, cutting to Kelce is more, like, I guess, football related, but
still
yeah.
not.
I'm watching
still
it.
not. It's another guy in the NFL. Like, I don't see
He's
much of a
just a
difference between
guy.
cutting between Kelce and Taylor Swift because, again, Jason Kelce is not playing in that
Pro
football
bowlers
game.
shirtless, crushing beers, but let's get to the game for a moment. Excited about this. I think it's going to be a good ball game. It's going to be a great ball game.
My meter in terms of interest is pretty low.
Both of you didn't pick correctly like I did on Friday.
Oh, shut up.
I've been horrible at picking this entire, but like literally, I thought the Cowboys were going to win. I thought, God, I had another really bad one, but this postseason
You
has
picked against the NFC North.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the playoffs have just taken me to the woodshed with my picks. I picked the Lions to win their first game. I don't remember if I picked them to beat
The Bucks? You did.
Yeah,
You
I
had
think I
to
did.
Because I would have given you hell if you would have picked the Bucks over the Lions.
It was a tough pick to not take.
No,
them.
but all in all, what I missed in the comment section.
Crew. If Taylor Swift was Margot Robbie or Sydney Sweetie, I would not complain, but Taylor Swift is mid or mild, excuse me.
No, it's mid. It says mid.
Okay.
Let's just leave that comment up there for a second while we talk. That deserves it.
Cruz says that Taylor's not hot enough to show all the time.
But Jason Kelce is. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, that's good. That's funny. David checks in, our gambling aficionado, over-under on Taylor Swift showings by CBS is 37. That's probably a prop bet.
It's got to be.
That's so 9.5 essentially per quarter. That's high.
That's
pretty high. Well, I guess if you include pregame and postgame, then 37 might be about right. There's going to be a couple different cuts in pregame to the box of Taylor Swift, and I'll go back to making myself food. I will not care, but some people out there will care, and that's okay. That's my general take on it. I don't care. I understand that people out there care. It's okay for them to care. It's okay for them to want to see Taylor Swift there. Just don't let it interrupt my football watching experience.
So if the Chiefs win and she gets shown, that counts towards that over-under.
I would think so.
I would. If they won, then maybe you're close to that 37 number.
We'll have to attack this with Danny Burke.
But to get back to this game here, 49ers Chiefs, my meter is quite low in terms of interest because whoever wins, it's a loss for America. Like, okay, the 49ers win. There's a boring storyline all year long. They were the favorites. They win it all. Cool. I guess the only storyline that I like out of that is Mr. Irrelevant winning a Super Bowl.
Sure.
Going from Mr. Irrelevant to Super Bowl champion in 2 years. That's cool. I like that storyline. For the most part, the 49ers have had so much success for about 5 years now. They don't move the needle for me.
2 in their last Super Bowl, but yeah.
And then I look at the Chiefs and I go, oh, okay, 4 Super Bowl appearances in 5 years, whatever the number is now. Like, that, I don't care about them winning it.
Here's what you should look at.
My interest level is low, but it's the Super Bowl, so
here's what I believe. I believe that Kelsey hangs it up.
If they win it, yeah.
And I believe Fat Andy hangs it up.
If they win,
I think either way, they both hang it up. I think this is it for them.
That would be wild.
I think this is it for them.
I think Kelsey's done if they win it.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion. I wouldn't be
agree.
shocked if Andy Reid was just done overall.
Yeah, and it'll be the Belichick v. Bieniemy. Okay, visit weekend. I told you we'd get here. We will. Jalen Williams, Connor's dear friend from Palatine, Illinois.
I know him so well.
Yeah, official visit. Standout defensive lineman, 6'5", 240. Great experience. Kind of a whirlwind trip, Elijah, as E.J. Barthel and Coach Knighton were there. Dylan Raiola, of course, helping host the tour. And kid was pretty much wowed. And Nebraska is competing against USC, Michigan, and Tennessee for him. But he wants to be back, and he was pretty excited. Apparently, he cooked for himself for the first time. And Nebraska's had pretty unique and exciting ways to connect with a student athlete that gets on campus. There was other visitors, of course, but Williams is one of these premier, probably really below the radar 3-star defensive linemen that we've listed off who wants him, and Nebraska needs to reload at that D-line spot.
And you can see whenever he posts up pictures from his visit why Nebraska is so interested in him. He's got a frame that makes defensive line coaches salivate. Like, long arms, tall, got a lot to build on where you can probably make him interior if that's the spot he ends up excelling more at. But you look at that frame as being a really, really high-level potential edge rusher. Probably some development time needed. But, like, in the picture that he posted up, Matt Rhule had to stand on a couch in order to not be cropped out of the photo. Like, he was behind Knighton and he was behind Williams. And Matt Rhule just looks like a midget compared to these two. And Terrence Knighton was like
little person.
Looked small compared to Williams. You can see why the Husker coaches love this kid and love the frame. It sounds like by all accounts he had a great visit.
Did he make chili this weekend?
Did he make good chili?
Did he make chili as good as Elijah's?
No, that's a simple fact. That is if you like it more on the soupy side than the chunky side.
Right.
Yeah.
Cranack, for the record, does have 3 O Street championships in chili cook-offs.
Hail Varsity Radio chili cook-off.
You and UV Cranack?
You got to
Super Bowl Sunday. Oh,
I want to be the judge.
My wife's chili's garbage, and that's what I eat. All right.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, Coach McBride, 10 minutes away. Jay Moore, the Blackshirt Hour. Next hour, it's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. An email in from Jeff. Maybe instead of the Nickelodeon broadcast, they can do a non-Swift broadcast for the Super Bowl for football fans only.
No, how about a Swift-only broadcast with Brent Musburger?
Oh, yes.
And then there you
Brent's
can go into the argument between Margot Robbie, Sydney Sweeney.
Brent's the dirtiest old man alive. And I love him. I mean, he's no longer doing Raider broadcasts, but he started VSiN. And can you imagine Musburger and the freak shows that showed up to Vegas when they got their football team? I mean, the ladies in Vegas, I hear, I've never been to Vegas, but Musburger was probably in hog heaven. You know, I mean, every Sunday was like a national championship game when it came to beautiful women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Musburger's right there Just like old Harry Carey back in the day. There's Miss Chicago.
I'll never forget that Brent Musburger game with Alabama and A.J. McCarron.
where
they just kept
on the Iron
Bowl.
Brent Musburger's just going, wow.
This is what you get when you go to Florida State.
The game that got Brent Musburger a new job.
Brent, we think it's time to retire. Hold my beer. Just not in Lincoln.
He's going out with a bang.
What'd he do? He's going to take his multi-millions. He would always talk about beautiful women in the crowd, creepily.
Yeah.
And then he would also talk about, some folks in the desert say, this is before everyone was putting a line below on the scroll or talking gambling. It was him and Al Michaels diving in. Yeah, our friends in the desert say. He'd always have this little sneak in.
That touchdown's important to some.
I just remember Ohio State was at Northwestern. Northwestern was unbeaten. They were ranked 15th. It was 2014.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing this to pile drive you. It's more so the fact that Northwestern tried to flip the ball around, and Ohio State scooped and scored it, and it just blew the overs and it blew the cover.
That is still on the
it's on the
bad beats intro
for SVP, and you just hear the inflection, the tone of his voice going, "Oh no!" Like he was going to start throwing stuff. I had a chance to work with him a couple of times, and when I say work with, that was bring him water and Twizzlers. Him and Keith Jackson. When I interned for ABC, because there was a lot of ABC primetime games at that time in Lincoln. It was great. So Musburger was always just, you're a gopher for one of the production assistants, and go get ice, sure. Where do we need to go to grab dinner? Here's a recommendation. Find somewhere in the Haymarket pre-rail yard explosion. And it was great, and he was just awesome. And Musburger was the tightest dude with all of his cameramen, and he'd pick up the bar bill at the second floor of the Cornhusker Bar, and they're out till wee hours, and all the camera dudes, all the union guys just loved him. He's just a normal dude. He'd sit down there and pour a drink, and it was just fun to watch him. And Keith Jackson was really cool. He's telling the director, rewind that back. That was a 70-yard kick. You don't see it every day. So that was fun. Musburger, God love him. Put him on the Swift call.
Hilarity would ensue. I guarantee
Hour
that.
2. It's Uncle Charlie time. Mr. Blackshirt Charlie McBride with us next. It's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.
This is Christian Peter. I'm sorry, but the stories I have about Charlie are not appropriate for the public.
The right case of the Mondays. It's Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, on Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Tower 2. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. We'll get Coach McBride locked in here in just a moment as we're connecting with him. And I want to remind you about our friends in volleyball up at CHI. Pro Volleyball, what an incredible opener with the Omaha Supernovas. Your Major League Volleyball teams exploded onto the scene with record crowds and an incredible fan experience, and it's second to none. The next match going to be coming up here February 3rd against the San Diego Mojo. 6 o'clock first serve at CHI. World-class talent, a fun, family-friendly environment with friends you can check out and get to know this team and feel the energy they're bringing to Nebraska. Don't wait. Be a part of history and secure your single match tickets for February 3rd. That is supernovas.com, supernovas.com. All-Americans, national champions, Olympians, and it was packed. It was incredible for all those who got a chance to check it out. Great stuff from Hurrdat Sports as well, and coverage on the socials that way. My camera's dropped. Let me get this fixed, and we'll get Mr. Blackshirt locked in here on Hail Varsity. So we'll do that in a moment, allegedly, and then move forward. Are you interested in doing another wager, some sides, some prop bets for the Super Bowl? Do you want to do that, like amongst us?
Right now?
No, I'm saying down the road.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. I mean, what else do we have to do, honestly? Like, what are we gonna do? Say
Just
no?
an update on Charlie. He's trying to get something figured out, and then we'll get him on.
Well, fine. All right. So we'll do that. We'll get Charlie here in a minute. Jay Moore is coming up with us in the next segment, our Blackshirt Hour, and I'm still kind of taken aback, not in a negative way, but I'm just wondering if our friend Crew, to go back to this comment, if our friend Crew knows that the Swifties may come after him.
I'm not. How many Swifties do we have watching our show? That's the question.
I don't know.
I would venture to say if you have a Venn diagram between Swifties and Hail Varsity Radio listeners, there's not much overlap, if any.
But there may be.
Maybe now. Maybe now that Taylor Swift has introduced football to the greater Taylor Swift world.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. I'd still consider it unlikely.
Yeah, and I'm a guy that is all sorts of football friendly and heavy is Charlie McBride. He's watching football. He loves watching the Big Ten Network, and the NFL is almost over. You know what's crazy is Nebraska's got another guy in Randy Gregory that is now in the Super Bowl. That trade is pretty big time for Randy to get out of Donkey Land and get picked up by. Did they trade him or cut him?
They traded him. It was gonna be a cut, but they ended up getting, I think, a 7th-round pick for him. Yeah, I'll root for Randy in the Super Bowl, but I don't want to spend more time talking about. He frustrated me this season. Love you, Randy, but he just was not a guy that cared at all for the Denver Broncos. He did not put any effort onto the field and rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah. All right. Without further ado, let's bring him on. It's Mr. Blackshirt. It's Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie. Coach, thanks for making time. How we doing?
Well, I was trying to get my phone to work. That'd help.
No.
You know, when you're not one of those computer guys.
You're the tech people.
Yeah, I'm just a pencil and paper guy.
I got a guy like that sitting just to my right.
Hey, I scream obscenities several times a week, Coach, at technology, so it's okay. We just can't do it on the radio, and I will hold myself back, and I know you will. What'd you think of the football yesterday? Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl, and San Francisco off to the Super Bowl.
Well, it was. I think it ends up pretty good, but here in Michigan, I was a little bit for Detroit because they so many on the outside have criticized the head coach for being I don't know what you call it. It isn't very nice. They call him different names, and that he can't do it. All I know is he can get his players to play,
right,
and his assistants do the work.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the way that they look at it, and that's all you have to do. And I guess I wondered why he didn't kick the field goal a little bit at the end there, but
yeah.
But no, I think it turned out the right people are playing in it. I think that's not a there wasn't a little upset or something like that, which would have changed things a little bit. But I think the best teams are playing.
Charlie McBride's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. We talked a lot about in big games, and it felt like Baltimore didn't do what they normally do, and that's run the ball on first down. They maybe overthought it a little bit, and you had turnovers, which were no good.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Detroit, they kind of stayed true to what they were, and that's the gambling man, so to speak. But all you needed was a field goal. Coach, speak a little bit about big games and going in and not trying to do too much. The trust factor of the prep.
I think with Baltimore, I think you saw some guys that were more interested in shoving and pushing and kicking and doing all these other things. They forgot what they're really there for. And it just didn't look like a very good, team that was on top of stuff. They got some dumb penalties, and they did a lot of crazy things. And, so when you get into a big game like that, I mean, we've been through it, and, you know, you talk so much to your players about, you know, not getting stupid penalties and things like that, and they turn around and start shoving and pushing, and, you know, everybody's grabbing everybody after every play for a while there, and it got to a point where you wonder why. What are these guys doing? What are they playing for? I mean, you know, they're not playing football. So, you know, but that's the thing, I think, with any time you're getting ready to play a big game, there's going to be some feelings, and you have to keep your head, or, you know, it's going to be over, and you're going to get a penalty for this and a penalty for that. And, you know, when you go back to 94 at Miami, they took a swipe at one of our guys, and it cost them a 15-yard penalty on third down. And they got a first down, and the next play is in the end zone. And instead of it being a field goal or something like that, I don't remember exactly the distance, but that cost them the game. I mean, really, and if you want to look at it, you know, in that way, you can do it. So I think when you get ready for a game, how you prepare for it, if you try to outthink yourself and be a rocket scientist, your chances are going to be not very good, because you want to do the things the players can do best. And even if they know what they're doing, to me, that's the way to win. That's the way to win the game. They all feel better about it, and the other team. I mean, you just plain beat them with, you know, the way you play football, and you know, and that's what I think the guy, and that's what I think in reality what the guy in Detroit's doing. I think they did a few tricks that they haven't done before, but, you know, when you get ready to play, I mean, you get your players to a point where, you know, all of those things put together with the special teams and you know, really, really have to, you know, stress the fact that it's not just the offense or not just the defense or specialty. It's all of them. And it's got to be the best you can play. So, you know, you do that during practice, and you talk to them. You know, we talk to them in the meetings, and, you know, and things like that. And during the week, you know, we have a team meeting before every practice. So, you know, I know Coach Osborne went through all the things that, you know, he felt were important, and you know, what did happen was stupid penalties were what bit them, you know, Miami in the end. And, you know, plus not being in very good shape, I don't think it kind of wore them out. But it was, you know, those are things that are physical part of it. I think you're talking about the mental part, aren't you?
Yep. It's Charlie McBride with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Charlie, whenever you look at that mental thing, it's one of the small things that can turn a close game. We look at the 49ers-Lions game specifically because the Lions won in total yards, in passing yards, and in rushing yards. They had more first downs. They had the exact same third down efficiency. The turnovers were even. They won the penalty battle. But they lose the time of possession, they lose the game, and they just lose on some tiny close things late in the game, such as game management. What's your take on that, on just the importance? I mean, Husker fans have seen it plenty in the past 5 seasons, the importance of doing the little things right in order to go help you win a close football game. I think that was kind of proven in the NFC Championship game last night, that over the course of a game, the 49ers, they didn't have the momentum, but they did a whole bunch of little things right throughout the game, and they end up getting a 3-point victory. That's exactly right. And the thing that happens is, you know, at the end of the game, when they kick the field goal and that thing, they set themselves up. They could have gone ahead and said, well, we go score a touchdown or something, but the time showed we better not. We better take the points. And if you turn it around the other way, Detroit should have probably kicked the field goal instead of going 4th and whatever it was, 2 or 3, and they didn't make it. Now they're out of it. The game's over. I mean, you know, and so when you talk about the little things, you know, it comes on the, you know, the head of the,
a lot of times the offensive and the special teams, in that case, coordinators, to see that, that the head coach is on top of that. And I don't know that, I probably would have gone for the field goal rather than 4th and 4 and then had the chance of going onside kick and going ahead scoring. But you had time. You had 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I think, right? And they got the players that can do it. So trying to do things, kind of out of character, I think are things that I think they bother the players. It's kind of a mental thing. I think, when they start doing things out of character in the game, whether it's the coordinators or the head coach or something, I think sometimes the players are going like, well, what's going on, and they start thinking, and, then it gets into one of those things after the game in the locker room, everybody's second-guessing each other. That's not good.
Charlie McBride is with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Charlie, about a minute here. 2 weeks out from the Super Bowl, what do you make of the matchup, and who do you like right now?
Well, I like the matchup, and you can't not stay kind of with the Chiefs. I think they did lose a defensive end, which hurts, with an ACL. I noticed today in the news that they lost their defensive end, and that's not good because I think their defense can be pretty good. And so I kind of, I living in Lincoln for all those years and kind of pushing on the Chiefs a lot. I think we as coaches got close to their organization a little bit, but the fans we had a lot of fans, Kansas City fans up in Lincoln. And so if you had to pick, somebody had to pick the team that, that everybody cheered for was, usually ever the Broncos or the Chiefs, I guess. And, those are the two teams that, are there. And so I hope the Chiefs kind of win, and I think they got a chance to do it. I think they've got the quarterback that can come up with the plays, and I think they, their tight end, of course, broke all the receiving records yesterday of the NFL, a number of receptions, which is amazing for a tight end. It really is. And go ahead.
I was going to ask you, do you about a minute here? Do you get a kick out of Travis Kelce, his persona? Well,
I tell you, he's crazy, but he hasn't totally gone off the air yet. I mean, I think I just like the relationship the whole family has. It's not a high strung family. They're just regular people, and they grew up probably a little tougher than a lot of people did. Kids did when they were young, but they have a good relationship, and it's kind of fun to watch it develop. And of course, with having the girlfriend around, I don't know about that deal. That's something that I don't think is the best thing in the world, but it's just something that isn't going to hurt anybody.
They've learned to deal with it. Well, Coach, we'll talk Super Bowl next Monday, and Elijah is bragging about how good his chili is, and it's kind of tradition to do chili for the Super Bowl. So we'll talk football and we'll talk chili. How's that?
I'll get my two. My son David has two boys, and one year won the chili contest, and the next year the other one won.
Oh wow!
The problem is one guy got $50 and one guy got 100. So, there was a problem. Not good.
Well, we'll hit on it, Coach. You take care.
Okay,
thanks for the time.
Okay, thanks, guys. Bye now.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red and NFL vet.
Is Dudeness or Duder or El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. It's Hour 2. It's the Blackshirt Hour. Continues. Jay Moore with us, Blackshirt Husker NFLer, co-host Big Red Wrap-Up on Hail Varsity at Jay Moore 44 is where you can find him on Twitter. Jay Bird, bittersweet. Great day of football yesterday. We got a week off, and then it is Super Bowl 58. Your Niners back in the dance. We'll start with San Fran. What'd you think?
Well, off to another shaky start. Just kind of how they got off this week prior to Green Bay. Just defense not hitting on all cylinders. I think the offense has kind of got them figured out a little bit. A lot of misdirection. Got to kind of get them going fast, flowing one way, and then whether it's reverse or I don't know, that kind of like fake fullback dive, flip play.
Yeah.
Green Bay ran that a lot against them in the week previous. You saw the Detroit do it. Obviously, the first touchdown of the game was a reverse. The 49ers defense is very fast and aggressive, so teams are trying to take advantage of that. Trying to do some things to break tendencies against them, and they did. They had a lot of success, but to a very slow start, they found a way to win, just like how they found a way to win against Green Bay. So just a lot of grittiness, defense making plays, getting turnovers. We need to do that. Getting plenty of fourth down stops, as people have been discussing all day with Dan Campbell's decisions to go for it on fourth down numerous times, and he's been doing it all year. So just they found a way, and I think that's just I can't say that they did one thing well. I think offensively, having Debo play helped. They got him the ball. And utilized him. I mean, McCaffrey was outstanding. Kittle, steps in and does his thing when he needs to. Ayuk made a fantastic catch off the ball bouncing off the guy's helmet, getting it close to the goal line. But they just found a way. They need to clean it up, because I think the way the Chiefs are playing right now, they got it figured out. They know who they are. They know who they want to be. So it's going to be a hell of a showdown here in a couple weeks when in Vegas.
Jay, does Kyle Shanahan owe Dan Campbell maybe a Christmas card next year for that fourth down decision late in that one to go for it instead of kicking the field goal? What's your take on it? There's been a lot of discussion surrounding that decision today, because some people say, well, that's just what Dan Campbell's done all year long. You can't compromise what got you there. But then other people are saying it's the NFC title game. You have to play the percentages.
Tie the game, for God's sake.
And understand that in a moment such as that, maybe you do have to compromise what's gotten you there in order to give yourself the best chance that night. Well, what's your take on that decision?
Yeah, it's hard because he has done it. He has done it all year. And I know they had issues with kickers. I don't know if they might be on their second kicker so far of the season.
I think they are.
So I understand that. And it's one I think you got to take into account for is how coaches have a feel for a game. I mean, there's definitely something to that, but I'm a big fan of preserving momentum, and I think it's more so in college than NFL, but I think they had it. I mean, obviously they had it for the whole first half. They came out, got to start off a little sluggish, and you knew San Francisco was going to fight back, but they still had the lead. They go for it again. I'm not sure if this is the one you're referencing, Elijah, or not, but I think they go for it. They don't get it, and then San Francisco comes down and scores their very next drive, and the game was over from there, in my opinion. I thought the whole momentum switched right there. If they go and get 3 there, I think they still might win this football game. And even though they got the score late, and had to rely on an onside kick situation, that decision right there, and I know they ended up going for it again later in the game, because you kind of had to, right? You're running out of time. But I thought that one was a very interesting one. I think that there you take the points. 2, maybe a 3-score. I can't remember again if it was it would have made it a 3-score game, 17 at that time.
It would have. It would have. It was 4th and 2. You're at the 9 or 28. This is after they get the field goal on the opening drive of the third quarter, and Detroit gets the ball for the first time in the second half, and they missed the pass on 4th and 2. That's the momentum killer.
I think you got to, in that moment, you got to kick it. It's analytics say this, and your feel of the game say this, but I think the momentum killer. You can't have that. Because you just being on the road, and how good the team the 49ers are. Again, points are a premium. It's like playing in the U.S. Open, right? You know, pars, you can't lose making pars. So sometimes you just got to make not necessarily the easy play, but I'd say the smart play and take it and get your points and see what happens. But it's going to get talked about. I know for the next couple of days, I'm sure there's a lot of Lions fans that are scratching their head, but also I don't know if it comes down to it with Dan Campbell and his coaching staff, if they kind of figure that they're playing with house money at that point too. But it's still hard to get that far, and you're so close. And for a franchise and an organization that's been through, you know, winless seasons and just bad management, bad coaching, to get so close and just, you know, I would never say it's definitely not a careless decision, but obviously a very, very risky decision that cost you. So I know he's going to have probably some sleepless nights the next week or so, waking up and, you know, cold sweat thinking about kicking it or what to do. But I would expect, you know, Detroit to be right back in this thing next year, you know, barring anything crazy. They might lose some coaches to some new spots with all these new head coaching changes, but they got a good system. They got a lot of young players. Goff's not going anywhere. You know, I think the young offensive talent they brought in, and you know, they got some really good young defensive talent too that they're going to be able to build on and keep. And honestly, probably until the NFC North, it's just until Chicago gets their kind of thing together. The Bears, imagine it's, you know, kind of a two-headed race there with the Packers and Jordan Love and the Lions going forward, and I envision that for the next couple of years.
Obviously, Jay, the 4th and 2 that didn't go the Lions' way was, you know, pretty costly in that game. But then you fast forward a little bit later in that quarter, and a fumble between Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs on kind of an awkward handoff that was kind of broken from the beginning. I mean, how big was that play in your opinion, and was that maybe even bigger than the 4th and 2?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, turnovers in any football game are a premium, but on the road, NFC Championship game, you can't afford to have them. And that was, I mean, and again, obviously where they fumbled it too. They're in, well, I think San Francisco scored 2 or 3 plays later. I mean, it was right around the 20, 25-yard line. So big, huge play. It wasn't a ton of turnovers in this game, but that one was it just kind of got this kind of like you said, momentum, the snowball effect going, because obviously San Francisco was struggling to kind of get things going, capture momentum, and all of a sudden, boom, kind of a missed handoff. And he still had somewhat control of it. I think, you know, San Francisco did a good job. He quite couldn't completely secure it, but the defense just did a great job of getting it out. And, you know, sometimes you got to go make plays, and the 49ers definitely made some plays.
We'll get thoughts on Chiefs-Baltimore in a moment, but final thought on the Niners, Jay, and where are you at with Brock Purdy? Made some throws, was able to stand in the heat of some blitzes and take some shots and deliver some great throws. But, man, it's time to give that kid a standing O for just the feel, specifically those 3 15 to 20-yard scrambles he had. He's not the dual threat that you know Lamar is, or even Mahomes is known for the scramble ability, but Purdy really saved their ass a few times with some big-time runs to keep that momentum.
He did. You know, I think back to, I don't know what week it was, when they played the Eagles in Philly and beat the crap out of them, and I feel like that was the best performance they had all year. That was Purdy's best performance they had all year. And they kind of struggled. You know, they got beat up by the Ravens a week or two after that. Didn't finish out the season strong, even though I know they already clinched the division. But it just kind of seemed like Purdy just didn't quite have a grasp and just didn't look very clean, and it hasn't looked very efficient. And again, against Green Bay, they had issues. And again, against Detroit, they had issues. But when a play was needed to be made, he stepped up and made a play. And I know he has fantastic weapons around him. I fully understand that. But the ability to climb in the pocket and scramble and get, you know, those first downs were crucial, big-time plays. I know people want to, you know, talk about his, he can't struggle throwing the football because of his small hand size and so on and so forth. But the dude he got it done. He's got it done multiple times. And he was the same game last year in Philly. He got hurt and that offense crumbled. So I love the grit, the grittiness that he has. And it's not going to be perfect. And he's not going to look, it's not going to be Mahomes-esque by any means. He's going to do what he does and make plays. And now you got a Super Bowl where you got one quarterback making $45 million versus a guy that's making like $900,000. So it's just the beauty of it all. And trust me, Brock will be getting his payday here pretty soon. I can only imagine.
Jay, do you like the 49ers' chances against the Chiefs? We'll get to the Chiefs and Ravens game in here in just a second. They're the favorite according to Vegas. I see it more as a pick 'em. What's your take on how the 49ers and the Chiefs match up?
I don't like the 49ers right now. The way that Kansas City's playing, the only thing that might help San Francisco is they have the 2-week break, and just Kansas City's so hot. They are playing so well. Mahomes is playing so well. The efficiency as they do, doesn't have an incomplete, for the first 11 or 12 passes yesterday. That's just, against that Ravens defense on the road, and the weather wasn't great by any means. And their defense is really, really good. The Spagnuolo's defense has done a fantastic job of dialing up certain looks and multiple looks, and they just know how to attack you and kind of do what they do, but do it from different styles and different looks that just confuse. Lamar couldn't even get to his. Never seems like he was able to throw to his first or second look all day yesterday. So that ability of that defense, they've played so well, and I don't think people, can fully grasp how good they've been. Hasn't let an offense get to 30 points yet this year. So just really, really, I lean the Chiefs. I think they're playing better football. Mahomes is healthy. All the years that Kansas City has been in the Super Bowl, he's always had a toe, an ankle, a foot. Something's dinged up. He's healthy. They got it going right now. And I just think the way that they've played, going back to back on the road, winning, and against how kind of sloppy San Francisco's played at home, I gotta lean the Chiefs' way, unfortunately. But again, there's a 2-week break, get things cleaned up. Who knows? It's just one more game left. You never know what happens. Maybe San Francisco can figure it out. But I gotta lean Kansas City's way right now.
Let's go to Chiefs-Ravens here, Jay. And it felt like, as well as the Chiefs have been playing the last couple of weeks, and they look like the Chiefs of the past couple of years now, especially in these playoffs. But watching the game from my perspective yesterday, it just felt like as the game went on, the Ravens got more and more undisciplined in those late moments. What do you take away from that? And obviously we all know about the Zay Flowers situation down the stretch.
Yeah. They just kind of – Kansas City came out and punched them in the mouth, and they didn't know how to respond. They come out and get the ball first and drive right down the field, and they get the fourth down conversion in that drive, and then a little nice back shoulder throw to Kelsey there in the end zone, and boom, you're up 7-0. But like I said, Kansas City's defense was so good. So they gave them so many different multiple looks. Like I said, Lamar Jackson, his first look was never there. He never was able to get a ball out on time. It was never smooth. I think the other thing that kind of was interesting to me from Baltimore's standpoint was they're a team that can run the football, fantastic at it, but they get these big personnel. We call them 21, 2 backs, 1 tight end, or 22, 2 backs, 2 tight ends, or a 12 personnel look. And they wouldn't run the football out of it. They'd almost try to pass it. And then as much blitzing as Kansas City wanted to do, they kind of refused to, the screen game, utilize the screen game, and just kind of, you heard Romo say it yesterday, you got to throw the ball where the blitz is coming from. They kind of just never took advantage of what Kansas City was doing. They didn't have a counter to Steve Spagnuolo's defense, and that was very, very surprising. And then you talk about being undisciplined. You get the turnovers, you get the penalties. That turnover at the goal line there by Zay Flowers. That's a breaker. And in just a few plays before, he got the taunting. He got him all the way down there, got the taunting, and then reaches out to try to score, which can't blame him. Trying to make a play and just a perfect hand on the ball, knocks the ball out, and it's just they just can never get it going their way. Everything was everything was very hard fought for. Even their first touchdown, it was it was kind of a scramble situation, and Lamar broke about 2 or 3 tackles and found Zay in the Flowers in the end zone, but it just never looked smooth. It was just a clunky performance, undisciplined performance, and the turnovers, which were surprising. And honestly, going into the halftime, I think Baltimore has definitely been a second half team. Their points differential compared to the first and second half is not even close. So I thought they would turn it on, but I tell you what, Kansas City, they got it figured out right now, playing very, very good brand of football, and it's kind of different than what we're kind of used to. Kansas City's kind of going bigger personnels and just very simple, more traditional like football, and it's working for them. And again, that really good defense that Baltimore has just couldn't find a way to get a stop.
Jay Moore is with us here. And Jay, the thing that I can't make sense in my own head from the Ravens yesterday was 8 total handoffs. That's it. From one of the best teams running the football. I know Lamar Jackson had 8 carries on his own, but in terms of the handoff rushing attack, Gus Edwards had 3 carries, Justice Hill had 3 carries, Zay Flowers had 2. That was it. 8 total handoffs in an entire game. That makes no sense.
First down runs. They're 50-50 with quarterback run or sticking with the run game to just jump in on this. And they did 5 first down runs.
All game long.
All game. What about Bird? Dude, you can't outthink yourself if you're Monken and the coordinator, right? I'm not going to raise my hand and say, hey, let's let Lamar throw it. All the time.
Is there anything that you saw, Jay, from the Chiefs front that would lead you to believe that there's a reason why the Ravens did that, or is that just a horrible game plan?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it's hard to watching it from the sideline on a TV copy. It's hard just because obviously football is a numbers game, and you have 1 to 2 plays that get called in the huddle, and you have your checks, and you work on your game plans all week to if you get a certain look, or the safety drops down in the box from the strong side or the weak side or the boundary side versus the field side, whatever it is, you might look to do certain things. But I wasn't from my viewpoint. I didn't see anything. I just think sometimes you just kind of get out over your skis a little too much. You try to do a little too much, and it's like you forget who you are and you kind of forget what got you there. And granted, I know Lamar's probably going to be the MVP, and you want to lean on him too, but it's like, man, you were good all years because you're able to run the football. Teams are able to run the football. That's how you get multiple. That's how you can utilize the passing game. That's how you can utilize Lamar in the running game as well, is because you got to stop that run first and foremost as a defense, and then you can kind of just run your counter punches and what do you want to do off of that. And they just never were able to kind of dance with what got them there, and that was the run game. And again, I kind of alluded to that earlier. From one of those bigger personnels, they didn't run out of it like they did all year, and it's just like, man, you just scratch your head. And at times they did run, they were very, very successful. So probably just overthinking it. And again, I think when you get punched in the mouth and they come down and score on your defense, and that's just the thing too, is that defense has been good for all year, and all of a sudden, they struggle a little bit, and you just kind of you're a little uncomfortable. You think you got to kind of play catch up and do something different, and they probably didn't need to, and probably got what's got them beat.
Jay Moore's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Jay, last thought, we'll get you out. Does Nebraska get a road win this season in Big Ten play? And he's thinking about it.
In football or basketball?
Basketball. What happens first, right?
All right. I think, golly, we got to get one, don't they? Figure out they got to get one.
We said that for a month.
Yeah.
It's the law of averages. Come on.
Because we got Wisconsin.
They're at Illinois, they're at Northwestern, they're at Michigan, they're at Ohio State, right? Those are the 4 road games?
Yeah, I think you're looking at Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, they got to go to Illinois. You got to go to – do they go to Purdue yet, too?
No,
they don't go
there.
They avoided that one this year.
Yeah, okay. So Illinois is a really good – they're a top 10 team, so I don't foresee that one. Although with this basketball team, that wouldn't surprise me more that they go and win at Illinois for some reason. Just they kind of always do the complete opposite. Just when you want to give up on them, they kind of bring you back in. I think they'll get one. It's, it might be later in the year, and it might be one of those wins where it's probably, unfortunately, too little, too late type of scenario, and you look at it, they can get to 22 wins. I think that's still probably a really good number to get them. I know their win at K-State is holding strong, and, the home game wins are good, but, losses to Rutgers and Minnesota and, this loss against Maryland getting blown out like they did is just the RPIs and the net rankings, all that stuff. They don't like it. And I know the Big Ten's always tough to battle in, but they can get one more, probably if you get 2 road wins, depending on the year, you like their chances, but they just got to figure out who they want, who they are, and just kind of buckle down on the road and find some toughness and just find something they can lean on, and maybe getting Juwan Gary back in the lineup may help. But just 2 polar opposite teams, Jekyll and Hyde, this year, which you just can't. I know it's hard to win. I think I saw a stat: 70% of the teams are winning at home in major college basketball, the conferences. But you show one thing out at home that looks really dang good, and then you go on the road, and you're just like, who is this team? And so you just kind of makes you wonder what's between the ears sometimes on the road, and what's kind of what kind of messages are being said to them on the road to to get those awkward performances.
Jay Moore with us. Big Red Wrap-Up, Blackshirt Husker NFLer at JMoore44. Jay, we'll check in next week. Thanks for a few minutes, bud.
Yep, thanks, boys.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, you are invited to subscribe to the podcast with Hail Varsity Radio, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and also follow along on the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at HVarsity Radio. Check out the Hail Varsity YouTube. That's where you can watch the show along with some of the other radio stations that air the show. KFOR and ESPN Omaha 590. A couple of spots you can watch their Twitter feeds of the show, and also the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed we just mentioned. That's where the show's posted there. And iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play, where you get the audio. The video is, it's pretty interesting. We're not beautiful to look at, but we don't absolutely make you sick.
I mean,
we're here.
Yeah, we're here. And sometimes it's hilarity ensues. Reminder to get buckled up. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives. It prevents injuries only if properly worn. Make it click, a message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Big thanks to Charlie McBride. Big thanks to Jay Moore there. We'll check in on some recruiting, Nebraska, and how they're doing on a national level. Greg Smith will be with us tomorrow. Mitch Sherman joins us from The Athletic. Excited to jump in with both of them tomorrow. We'll get you ready for a big showdown Thursday, Nebraska, Wisconsin, PBA. Plenty of basketball thoughts. Steve checks in any correlation to why the Ravens didn't want to give Jackson a big contract early. Listen, there's a lot made of Lamar Jackson and being franchise tagged, and Lamar falling as far as he did in the NFL draft to the last pick of the first round. Lamar Jackson was going to be Nebraska's quarterback had they not got rid of Bo.
I'm going to bring that up again.
Oh, yeah. Lamar was going to be Nebraska's quarterback. He was set to be in. I know that to be true with some of the
He's going to be right in front of Joe Burrow on the depth chart.
Well, those are two. Connor.
Sorry.
But Lamar was verbally committed, silently, allegedly, to Nebraska. Listen, Lamar is an incredible talent. He's going to get a second MVP. How does he do in big moments? He didn't play horrible yesterday. He had one bad throw that was picked in the end zone. His knucklehead teammate fumbled at the goal line.
Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers was an all-star for my fantasy football team this year, so I don't want to hear too much slander.
Well, I mean, you go 5 for 110 in the touchdown and have 2 fumbles, a personal foul penalty, cut your hand.
Well, the one bad throw that Lamar made was extremely costly.
How about the other 2, though? The 39-yarder to get him set up.
Yeah.
54-yarder to get him set up.
I just feel like he missed outside of those.
I don't think
he missed downfield a decent amount.
He did, and that's his strength is intermediate throwing. Downfield, he's shaky from an accuracy standpoint. Is he a pass-first guy? No, dude. You zone read him. You run him. You let him get in rhythm there. I mean, the guy almost caught his own touchdown pass and went 60 yards. He's a freak athlete. I don't think the game plan, and more so the Chiefs' defense, did him any favors. They were locked in. So are they regretting this? No. I mean, you're going to end up paying the guy. Are they sold on him? Yeah. I mean, they want him around. They didn't let him go. Got 2 MVPs.
Now you got some math to do with that big contract, though. How do you make the cap work?
Figure it out. Get everyone's accountants called in. Back at 4 tomorrow. Thanks.